One of the things I love about the Old Testament are the typologies. These are the stories, the people's lives that foreshadow the coming life of Jesus, you know, long before Jesus was born. And one of my favorite stories, of course, is the story of Joseph and his brothers. And some people know that story well, but they don't realize it's a typology of Jesus. So if you look at Joseph and the parallels, Joseph was rejected by his brothers, just like Jesus' own family, including his half brother. In the beginning of his ministry, they thought he was crazy, that he was out of his mind. Joseph was sold for 20 pieces of silver. Jesus was sold for 30 pieces of silver. Joseph was falsely accused, but maintained his innocence. That sounds like Jesus, falsely accused, but was innocent. Joseph, when he was thrown into prison, he was thrown into prison with two other people, just as Jesus on the cross was surrounded by two thieves. Joseph, when he was talking to his brothers when they came down to Egypt, it was on the third day that he told them how they can have life. Jesus rose, of course, on the third day. Joseph was left and thought for dead. Of course, Jesus rose from the dead. Joseph's brothers, when they first went down to Egypt, they did not recognize him. It had been years, and Joseph had grown, and they had grown. They did not recognize him, just as when Jesus was resurrected. There were instances where his own disciples and Mary did not recognize him. After suffering, Joseph is exalted to the right hand of the king, just as Jesus, after suffering the passion and resurrecting, he takes his rightful place at the right hand of God. Joseph forgave and saved his brothers, those that did evil to him, just as Jesus forgives and saves those that come to him. And Joseph prepared a place for his brothers, his family, to be able to live, just as Jesus prepares a place for all of us in the future kingdom. And there's even a few more that you could go into. But those are some of my favorites of the parallels between the life of Joseph and Jesus. So reading the Old Testament, sometimes there's challenging things, but the typologies are very cool.